Welcome to Thoughts for Growth, your 5-minute or so spark to see our world differently. Brought to you on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays by K-Wave 6 Radio. Now, here's today's thought.
Think of the future that we could create. Face the facts today. There's a better way. There's a better way.
Welcome to Thoughts for Growth. This is Friday, the 12th of November, 2014. Today's subject is titled Mastering Self. We live in a time where hedonism and narcissism is running rampant. Hedonism, we want everything for ourselves. We want to live in pleasure and opulence. Narcissism, we want to see everybody to see us for what we want to be seen as. Look at me, I'm great, I'm wonderful. So we go out and we get degrees and diplomas and certificates and all sorts of papers to say, hey, I'm someone different, I'm someone special, I'm above the average. So look at me, let me be the inspiration for your life. We even have learned how to dress to appear to be more than what we are. That brought me to a thought about this movie titled Kumare, Kumare. You can find it on YouTube or any other, probably even Netflix. Kumare, in short, is a story about a man who grew up in New Jersey, but his ancestral beginnings were from India. He ended up going through a search in life about what is spiritual because he fought against it for quite some time, and he wanted to find out a few things. So what he decided to do was he went back to India to learn from some gurus, and he found some that were full of themselves and some who were actually genuine. And he learned some things and made a documentary out of it, and even to going to a spot where some of the Beatles went to sleep in, I don't know what they're called, ashrams or something like that, overnight. And he had these pictures of him sleeping there in the morning and getting up, stretching, and doing whatever he did. Shorter story is he came back to the United States and he ended up in the Arizona area. And he started his own little following as a guru. He grew his hair long and a beard. He put on the robes of the Hindus, and he had a couple of assistants, nice-looking women. And he had followers that he taught. And some of it was stupid little exercises that he just made up just at the spur of the moment. And he did this for, I don't know, over a year or so. And one day, he finally decided to tell these people that he was fake. He's from New Jersey. He lost a small percentage of those who were following him. Some got up and left right there in the meeting when he told them. Others stayed on. Quite a few of them are still, according to the movie, still friends with him. I saw two things that came out of this movie. One is that people look for something that makes you different, something that separates you from the average person. So if you put on robes and put something on your skin, on your forehead, grow your beard long, grow your hair long, and speak with a foreign accent, you have value. Why? Because I'm looking for something that's beyond what I already know. The other side of this was people that stayed found that they had found something in him that made their lives better. Now that may sound kind of strange to you, but As I've said it even before, and you've probably even read this before, if you think that you can't make a difference, try sleeping in a room with a mosquito. You can make a difference. All you have to do is put your best out there. Even if it looks silly to some people, somebody's going to go, there's something about what he just said, or something about what she just did, that makes sense. You don't have to dress up to be different. You don't have to dress up to influence someone. You don't need the degrees, the diplomas, the certificates, or other kinds of papers to say what you are. I'll give you another example. Another example is I live here in Mexico. And what I do part-time right now is I'm an English teacher. English is a second language. I used to work as a consultant for an international company here. They asked me to actually interview people because they needed another teacher. So they asked me to interview, and what we found out down here is there's a lot of people here that have papers that are necessary to get hired as an English teacher. These people should be able to teach and to speak English as a native, or as close to it as possible. In the interview process, we found there are many people that have all the papers and even more than what they needed, but they had no ability to hold a conversation in English, let alone teach it. Or at least not teach it as an English teacher. Teaching it as a Spanish-speaking person teaching English on a board and on a piece of paper. They can't speak it. The human race seems to have the inability or lack of desire to see what's in plain sight, let alone what is hidden from us. In other words, we can't seem to follow a trail that says, hey, look, this has happened, this is what is happening, so it might be this is what will happen in the future. Of course, we have this fatalistic viewpoint that, well, everything is bad, everything is evil. People that are, what was the group several years ago that said aliens were going to come and get us on this date, and when they didn't come, these people committed suicide. We tend to follow the mass media, or we follow alternative media, but our own ability to discern what is, what isn't, what shouldn't be, but what is, we leave it to someone else. I sometimes believe that people are afraid to express themselves, whether it be I can blame it on someone else if it doesn't work out, or I was told, or the common expression, well, you know, they say. Well, who is they? Who are they? Nobody ever says who they are. But we seem to find comfort and solace in quoting someone else, but not understanding what really is going on. We yield to popular beliefs and thoughts and ideas. We don't learn because it's easier just to follow. We would rather follow, even though many of us say, we're individuals. I'm an individual. I have my own ideas. Well, your own ideas are based off of who panders to the thoughts that you already have. If you're what's in the news these days, if you're one of those who are following the radicals of any particular religious group or even some non-religious group, you feel in good company because you have someone that is expressing life in the same way that you are. or the same way that you feel. There are people that are joining ISIS that aren't even Muslims because they have a desire to kill somebody. I want to kill somebody, and that's going to be the best way. So they run off to the Middle East and they start cutting off heads. A little dramatic, but some cases that happens to be true. We also have this thing in hedonism about purchasing. We have to find our self-identity through buying usually a lot of stuff that's meaningless. It's not necessary. We want it, and we convince ourselves through that desire to have so much that we convince ourselves that it is necessary. Especially in the United States. We don't have it so much down here, but there's always a new product coming out. There's always a new and improved something or another. But we never take into account what is the cost of manufacturing. I'm not talking about in dollars, in cents. What about ecologically? Where does this stuff come from? And when we throw away the old, what happens to our ecology because we throw it away? We have spiritual leaders. In the past, we've had many truly peaceful spiritual leaders. And within the last 100 years, a great deal of them saw death at the hand of someone else. But we tend to want leaders, as I said earlier, that pander to our own thoughts and desires. If you're one, and I'm going to name one, Westboro Baptist Church, if you're one of those, you're going to be, I hate gays, I hate lesbians, and I hate this, and I hate that. And I'm sorry, but a church is not supposed to be a place of worship is not supposed to be a place that talks and preaches hatred. You're talking about hating another person, but you want that person to find the love that you're supposed to have in your place of worship? That doesn't exist. If you're a leader, then what are you leading people into? If you're a follower, why are you following someone that is teaching you anything but love and tolerance of someone else? I'm not talking about to the point that you're being walked on. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to stand up for other people. Even as in martial arts, as we're taught, do the least amount of damage to stop someone. If you have to kill them, kill them. But it's only from defense, not as an offensive. If you belong to a community, does that community support individualism? In other words, can you be yourself while in that community? Or do you find yourself needing to hide yourself just to belong? Now I ask this because I want to bring this to a close. I've run a little over time. I ask this because if you come from especially a Christian background, a Jewish background, some others that I have no ideas their names and I don't want to try to pull them up at the moment, but if you're from one of these communities that says, I'm looking for salvation, I want to be saved, or if you're one who has the viewpoint of, I'm going to ascend, do you ascend as a community or do you ascend as an individual? Because it's you, as far as the readings I've ever read, talks about the individual that ascends or is saved. Not, I'm going to come and take this whole community right here and everybody else in the world. Sorry. Who are you? Have you mastered yourself? Have a wonderful weekend.
Think of the future that